So I would like to welcome the new speaker. So before Brian joined, so I would like to announce that. So please use YouTube channel. It's a free. Okay, so YouTube channel, and then post your questions, anything you want to get answered. No need to worry. So please share this link to everybody, because LinkedIn has only 4 hours limited streaming facility with the rest of the programs. So it is streaming, but it may disconnect maybe after 30 minutes or so. So YouTube channel is open until the end of the day, and then there will be another link for tomorrow. So please make sure that you do that. Okay. So thank you. So hi, Brian. Good morning to you. I think it's around 11
Yes,
o'clock there.
it
And
is. It is early morning or late night here. It's 1 a.m. in California.
wow, thank you for joining too late. Uh, it's fantastic uh, to see you here, Brian. Uh,
Thank
so
you.
let me give a quick round of introduction to Brian. So Brian Gladden he's talking about business model refresh today. It's a very important topic. And Brian Gladden is a global strategy and innovation expert with 30 plus years of experience across startups and Fortune 50 companies. As a CEO of Strategy and Innovation Institute, he helps companies build competitive advantage through business model innovation, OKRs, and cultural transformation. He also serves as a senior coach with Strategizer, Lean Stack, and OKRs. Okay, so we would like to hear you and enjoy your lecture, Brian. Thank you very much for joining the late night today. Okay, from USA. Thank you very much. Over to
Yeah,
you.
you're
Yeah.
welcome, Sheikh. Thanks for having me, and I'm looking forward to some great questions here at the end. We'll make sure we have time. So let me share my screen, and we will get moving here.
We can see the presentation in a normal mode.
Yep, I'm putting it into here. Hopefully,
Perfect. Perfect. You can
great.
see.
I think. All right, you've got it full screen.
Yeah,
Hopefully.
yeah. Yeah, full screen, yes.
All right, wonderful, wonderful. So, all right, thanks for having me, and I'm looking forward to talking tonight about today, your time, early morning my time, about business model refresh and why we need to refresh our business models. And I'm hoping today that the big takeaways that you all walk away with from today are three things. And the first is, if you don't refresh your business model, you will become obsolete. That's for all of us. The second is, I want you to shift your mindset to view your business model as core to your strategic decisions. And third, that there are tools, frameworks, and coaches to help you refresh your business model. And I'm one of those. This process we're going to talk through today, this kind of continuum here of what are our visions and aspirations of the company, we'll start with. Then, where do you compete and play now? We'll then talk about how you win now. We'll move into what changing conditions need to be adapted to in your environment, and then what capabilities must be in place. And from these 5 areas, we can then refresh our business model. But the first question we need to ask ourselves is, why do you need to refresh your business model in the first place? And the answer there is, first, we need to figure out, well, what is the definition of a business model so that we're all on the same page? And that is really important because that sets the stage for all of us. Your business model is how you create, deliver, and capture value. And that's a really important definition because historically, most of us think of business models as how you monetize something. And that is not the correct definition of a business model. So if we're all in agreement and on the same page of what a business model is, then we can start to document it. And then we have a place to refresh from versus just this theoretical idea in our head of some business model. The second thing is, what's going on with business models that is unique that we need to look at to refresh them? Well, McKinsey study looked at recently that 80% of our business models are at risk. This is really, really important to think about, that the speed of innovation, globalization of commerce, new entrants, startups, disruptive innovation are causing business models to actually accelerate their timeline as well. And Boston Consulting Group actually created a study that in the past 50 years, the average business model lifespan has fallen from 15 years to 5 years. So this is significant. So if you haven't refreshed your business model in the last 5 years, you're out of date, you're stagnant, you're starting to probably die, even if you don't know it. There are entrants trying to disrupt you. There are adjacent and substitute products probably trying to enter your market, and your customer needs have probably changed. So, what is causing this? Some of the things we just mentioned already. We need to refresh due to our changing environment, market conditions, COVID, wars, inflation, stagnant growth in your industry. We mentioned disruptive risks from new entrants and startups, staying ahead of your competition, as well. And most importantly, is the last one, changing customer needs. This is the focus of most of our conversation tonight. And if you don't believe me, here is a great visual that proves that we all need to refresh our business model. In the last 20 years, more than half of the Fortune 500 companies have gone extinct. They don't exist. They've either been acquired or they've gone out of business. And most of these logos we're probably familiar with, and there's many, many more. So we need to make sure that we are focused on refreshing our model. So the first question we need to ask ourselves is, what are our aspirations and visions as a company? And this is really important because my favorite quote in any business, if you don't know where you're going, any road will get you there, right? From Alice in Wonderland. This is critical because you as a company, whether you're a single person or a extra large multinational, we need to know what our vision, our purpose is. What are we trying to accomplish? Where are we going so that everybody is going in the same direction and we have goals to achieve? And in light of that, business models are a key part of this because we can identify our business model shortcomings in supporting our strategic direction and aspirations. Historically, the business model was just thought of again as this theoretical thing, usually wasn't put on paper, but we can actually document it and then start to understand how is our model helping us achieve our vision and our purpose and our aspirations. To do this, I actually am hoping that we change our mindset. I want one of the things to come out of today is for you listeners to change your mindset about business models and actually how we can look at exploring and exploiting at the same time. Most of us work in the exploitation area. We trying to exploit our own current market, right? Our industry, where we play. We try and beat the competition. We try and get more market share of our current industry and market. We are trying to exploit the known group of customers we serve. Exploring, finding new markets, new customer segments, new offerings is really difficult because that's much more innovative. There's higher risk. There's a lot of unknowns and uncertainty. And so most of us focus on the exploitation where we have Excel sheets and budgets and plans and strategies that we can execute that are very known. But we need to also look at exploring in the future. Today, we're going to think about refreshing our model just in terms of exploiting. And once we do this, understanding the tools we can use, the processes we can use, and the shift in mindset, we'll then start to embed some of these tools and processes in our organization, which will let you then start to explore and innovate in the future, which is much riskier and much harder to do. So most of our time will be on exploiting our current stuff and refreshing our model as we know it today. The next question after our aspirations and where we want to go is, where do you compete and play now? What space do you compete in? Your market, your industry, geography? Who do you compete against? And to do this, we really want to document our business model, not just this theoretical idea of something in our head. And again, the business model tells the story of how we create, deliver, and capture value for your organization. And that's important because we're going to talk about the customer in the next section. But the business model shows how you create value for the organization. The tool that is most prevalent that I use and that I would recommend you use if you don't already to document your business model is the business model canvas from Strategizer. This is a phenomenal tool, one of the most important tools in the last 20 years in business, in my view, as well as those business leaders on Thinkers 50 that kind of rate the who's who in business every year. I actually coach for Strategizer and for Alex Osterwalder and team who created the business model canvas. And it is a very, very powerful tool, if nothing else, to get you and your executive team onto the same page of how you create, how you deliver, and how you capture value. Because without documenting it, then we're making decisions on our own assumptions and usually going in different directions. And that's thus making decision making much less aligned. One of the things that we want to talk about here on the business model canvas is the 9 elements. So many of you might have used the business model canvas, but we'll talk through hopefully how to use it in a more optimum way. The 9 elements really look at it from a demand side view as well as a supply side. So if you've noticed, the right-hand side here of the business model canvas is actually the customer segments, the customer relationships, and the channels, how we get things to our customers, who they are, how we get and grow them, as well as our revenue streams. So the customer segments in this right-hand side is the demand side. The left-hand side over here is actually the key partners, the key activities, the key resources, the things from our supply side as a vendor. And then right in the middle is our offering, the unique value proposition, the thing that we are bringing to market to help satisfy those customer needs. Here's an example of Uber. We all are familiar with Uber and rideshare of some degree. And one of the things, we won't spend too much time on this, but that I want you to take away from this is that you can use both pictures and words to describe your business model currently. We don't want to put too much information in here. What will happen normally when you first do it for the first time is you'll have lots and lots of data written on your business model canvas, and then you'll start to simplify it over time, and you'll start to be able to tell your story much more succinctly, hopefully in about a minute at the most. But as we can see from Uber, we start with our customer segment. Who is it? This is a multi-sided model where we have riders, people in need of transportation, as well as car owners who want to make money. And you can see in the value prop, that's reliable transportation is the need. That's the value prop, as well as additional income for drivers. And how they do that is with a convenient mobile app. It also talks about our key partners, the resources they have, the technology platform, the network of drivers, the things they do, their activities. And we're going to come back to this, creating the platform of technology, customer support, and then all of the things around revenue and cost. So this tells your story, if you're Uber, of how you do business. And we're going to use this as we go through today and show how we can start to refresh this by looking at these different elements. The key mindsets that I'm hoping you take away from this section is that the canvas helps you document and visualize your strategic choices. And strategy is about choices, where we play, how we win, what we do and don't do. Do we play at the low end, the high end, all of these things. And our model can help us document and visualize that. The canvas also aligns you and your leadership team on how you operate now, thus improving your decision making and focus. I guarantee you that if you take that canvas and with your entire leadership team, ask them to fill it out on their own, you're going to have very different answers when you compare them. Creating that single version of the truth, if nothing else, is a significant step forward for your organization to document how you create, deliver, and capture value now. And the last one is I'm hoping that you shift your mindset, moving from product and service innovation, where we think of features, to a business model innovation mindset, that the thing that you offer is only one element of your entire business model. An example and a quote on that I really like is here from MasterCard, the chief product officer talking about, we are using the canvas to move beyond features towards more integrated thinking and value creation. And that's exactly what the business model does, is help us think broader of all the things that might be affecting us. The next question we want to ask ourselves once we document our business model on the canvas is, how do we win now? And this is really probably one of the most important questions. How are we creating value for the customer? And how can we refresh that value? When we think about our business model, we already talked about how it creates value for the organization. But one of the things, if you've used the business model canvas before, that you'll notice is that it talks about the customer segment and it talks about our offering, but it doesn't talk about the customer's problems or needs or wants and exactly how we fulfill those. And there is another sheet that we can use to do that, a layer underneath the business model canvas. And it's called the value proposition canvas. And it tells the story of how you create and deliver value for your customers. And this is much more important than how you do it for your organization. Because honestly, the customer doesn't care how you create value for yourselves. They only care about how you create value for them. And this is where we want to spend most of our time, is understanding how the customer needs have changed. What has caused them to shift and need something better and different than what maybe you're offering or the market's offering. And this layer underneath of this value prop canvas, is a very similar tool, as you can see by the looks of it. We have on the right-hand side the important area, the customer profile, we call it. And you probably, if you have not used this before, one of the statements I'll make that I hope resonates with you, you cannot use the business model canvas unless you use the value proposition canvas as well. One of the biggest problems that we see around the world with people using the business model canvas is that they use it as a checklist, a to-do thing. You fill it out and that's it. It goes in a drawer. It's not something that's dynamic that you keep to change. And people don't use the value proposition canvas with it. And the goal is for all companies to use this tool as a more dynamic tool to really understand your customers and to start using this to innovate from. This idea of customer jobs is a really important one that we could spend the entire session on, but you could Google jobs to be done. Jobs to be done is a really, really important concept that I hope you note down and write to Google on. We think about customer issues in terms of problems or wants, needs, desires, all these great adjectives that we're used to. But if we think about customer needs or problems in terms of what's the customer's job they're trying to get done, this is a much more impactful statement, because now they might not have a problem that they know of. We might think we can solve what they're trying to do better. And if we ask them, well, what job are they trying to do? Then we can understand how they do that now, the competitive products, and what we think might be gaps or issues that we could fulfill better. And if we just ask about problems, we're probably not going to get the insights we need. When people try and get jobs done, those are those big high level jobs they're trying to accomplish. If they get them done, they also want more things, right? What are the positive things that a customer wants to get done if they get a job done correctly, right? Solve a pain of some sort. They're also really worried about their fears and pains. Well, what if I don't get this job done correctly or better than it's done now? What's at risk? And on the left-hand side is you, the vendor. We call this the value map. And literally you can just list your customer's needs, as well as these pain reliever features that will map over to the pains that they're trying to get rid of or that they're fearful that they will have. I'm going to show you an example, and then we'll talk through how we can create this together. So here's an example of Hilti, the power tool manufacturer, drills and saws and everything else for construction. And they talked to CEOs of construction companies and said, what are the big jobs that you're trying to get done? And they found that it was these big three things here: find and execute contracts, respect deadlines of their customers, and plan their schedule for building and fleets and so forth. And to get these things done, they would have loved to have healthier margins, right? That's a positive thing. They'd like to get better margins than they have now. They'd love to have access to the newest tools, and they love their tools to be always working, which is usually not the case. Their fears and pains they're worried about if they don't get these done are their upfront investment on all the tools they have to buy for these construction projects, people stealing their tools or their tools breaking, and then delays and penalties because of their tools being broke. They're not going to be on schedule now to meet the customer's needs. So Hilti literally created a new service, online fleet management, where they have a system to pick up tools, to deliver them to the job site, to fix them when they're broke, to create a subscription that now there is a consistent monthly cost instead of the upfront millions of dollars of investment at one time. And now the CEO construction company knows his consistent costs. He knows that if something's broke, it will get fixed and replaced, and the tools will be at the job when they need to be because Hilti will do that for them. So when we think about this, the CEO now can literally draw a line from his subscription, which is a pain reliever, to his upfront investment, which was his fear. A dual line of this no-cost replacement feature from Hilti now is going to solve his problem and fear of broken tools and penalties. His guarantee of, there'll be less downtime because of the tools being delivered solves two problems and a gain. And then the sound cost management, because it's a consistent subscription, and access to newest tools over a period of time, Hilti will replace them. So we can now draw lines to the customer's biggest issues, which guarantees that we have what we call problem solution fit. And this is what we're all looking for. And what happens many times is the customer needs, these jobs, pains, and gains change. Think of COVID overnight. We had to change, and the customer needs changed. Or now with inflation, or war, or gas prices, or your industry. How have these customer jobs, pains, and gains changed? And how are you still creating gains or relieving pains for them? And their most important ones. And this is what we need to understand. So let's pretend that you've done that and we've identified some maybe new jobs, pains, and gains that you need to update and create some new solutions for on your business model. The next question we have is, well, how much better are we at doing that and offering these new features than our competitors? And to do that, we really want to visualize how we compete against our competitors. And many times we think that we are this lion when we're actually this little kitty cat. We think we're great and we have the best products and services ever, and no one can beat us. But usually the customer has a very different perspective of us. And so we want to make this much more factual based. And to do that, there's a tool that's a really powerful tool I recommend you use. And it's called the Strategy Canvas. And it's part of the Blue Ocean Strategy Toolkit if you've never used it. And many of you have probably heard of Blue Ocean, and I'm an expert in Blue Ocean as well as coach for them as well. And so combining some of these great tools together is a way that we can start to document and visualize and create repeatable processes to help us refresh and stay ahead of the competition. One of my friends, Andrew Constable, is going to be speaking to you in about an hour and a half or 2 hours on Blue Ocean strategy. And so he can get into this much more in depth than we have time for today. But for you all to refresh your model, we first want to figure out, how do we look to our customer right now? And the first thing you want to do is take this sheet, and it's just an XY axis, and right on the bottom, what are the factors that you think you compete on right now? We all say price, so price is always there. And this is just a made up example that I put here for a made up software as a service company. Product availability, ease of use, number of engineers, retail stores, service, all these things. So yours will be very different. But what are the factors you think that are most important to your customers you're competing on right now? We need to document those. And hopefully, if you've done it right, those should be the same things for the most part as the jobs, pains, and gains that you just mapped and said your customers are most worried about. But I would bet a lot of money that most of these are probably not exactly what your customer thinks are their most important issues. And if so, we're probably not competing on the right variables right now. After we list those things, at least what our current visualization is of how we compete, we then want to plot on this kind of a 10 points here, Excel sheet. How good are we? From we compete low on this, or our offering is very high. So, and it's virtual, or it's literal. So your price would be low if it's low. If it's a high price, put it as high. But product availability, maybe it's we're right in the middle. We're delivery mobile service, maybe we're not so good. Maybe the ease of use is very high, so we're really good up here. And then what you do is just connect the dots and do that for one or two of your competitors. And this is what it looks like. You will normally see these kind of converging lines where you might be better somewhere, they might be better somewhere else. And the customer really looks at this and says, you kind of look the same to me, right? You might think, well, oh, we have better product availability and we have more engineers, but maybe the customer really doesn't care about those things. Maybe they really care about customer service and the ease of use, and your competitor might be a little bit better. So do that with your leadership team. And I guarantee you that you will be surprised that if you do it alone and then come together, most of your leadership team will have a different perspective on what these factors are you compete on. Finance will have a different perspective than research and engineering, or operations, or human resources, or sales. And one of the most important things you can do as a leadership team is to get on the same page, at least agreeing on what are the factors right now we think are the most important as a leadership team. And then how do we think we stack up and compete? Once we do that, then the data that we gather from talking to customers, understanding these jobs, pains, and gains, what has changed, we can go out and validate with evidence, are these really the most important factors right now that we are competing on or should compete on? What you will usually find, and I've done this hundreds of times with companies, mid-sized, large companies, as well as startups, is that what you think are the most important factors down here to compete on are usually not the right ones. You might have 50 to 70% right, but that other percentage is really important. And the second question is, well, of these 10 items down here that we think we're competing on, what are the most important items to the customer? Because not all things can be equal. What are the most important 1, 2, or 3 things of these 10 things to customers? Those are the ones we want to really focus on, put our money, our resources, our time and effort to, and not worry about the other ones as much. Let our competitors worry about the ones that aren't as important to our customers. And when you do that, we can literally look at these as levers that we can start to focus our time, maybe increase our customer service better and our product features, and not worry about so much about the other things. And then we get to this. This is our future state. Once we understand the customer's really important factors, we can now change our blue line to compete less on the ones that aren't quite as critical to our customers, but really compete better on the ones they're telling us that they want better, either service or better features or better availability. And now we have a significant separation between us and our customers from the customer's perspective. And now we've really refreshed our model to focus and add value to the customer. The next area, we're about halfway through our journey here, is what are we adapting to on changing conditions? What are these things that we need to look at to stay ahead of our competition? What are trends and things going on in our world that are affecting our business model that we really, really need to act upon? To look at that, we want to think about our business model is being pushed on by all sides from different things, from market forces, macroeconomic forces like we've mentioned already, COVID or war, inflation, key trends like AI, cybersecurity, mobility, cloud, industry forces, supply chain, new entrants. And when we start to think about this, every day there are new things affecting and pushing on our business model that are going to either need to be looked at as a threat or an opportunity we need to be aware of. So, one of the exercises you can do as your team is to do a brainstorming session on mapping these business model forces, we call them. One of the tools that many of you have probably used, which is a great tool, is the SWOT analysis. And SWOT analysis is great because it's been around for decades and everybody knows that you probably used it. Our strengths, our weaknesses, right? Our opportunities and threats. But the problem with just using a SWOT analysis is that human nature is we need to be have more defined areas of focus. So many times someone will say, "Well, I'm not that creative. I'm not really sure, what our weaknesses or strengths or threats are." But if we give somebody a specific topic or element, then they're much more apt to come up with creative ideas. And so, what I mean by that is adding pestle, which is another way to look at what's going on in the world with SWOT. So, the pestle analysis, many of you might have heard of or used, it's been around for a long time. It means political, economic, social, technological, environmental, and legal areas. And so now you can literally take each of these six elements and one by one say political. Okay, what's going on with tariffs or with regulation? What's going on with stability, corruption policies in our space, our segment, our country? And then use those sticky notes to put onto the SWOT boxes. Is it a strength? Is it a weakness? Is it an opportunity or a threat? And do that for each one: the economics, the social, technology. AI obviously is everywhere. And it could be both a weakness and an opportunity. And from that, you'll start to get much more pointed and impactful, specific ideas for you to act on, whether it's a threat or an opportunity. We can then take those and figure out, well, what do we need to do with some of these really important ones to evolve our business model? Is it something immediate that is affecting us right now, or is it something that we need to start looking into and researching? The last thing we really need to look at is, what capabilities do we have in place to take advantage of all of these new value add features, these new competing factors, these new trends, um, all of these things that we might uncover talking to customers, gathering data. Can we actually act upon them with the capabilities we have in our organization? And there are many more capabilities than what I've listed here on the screen. But one of the things that you can do is just at least start with these four and think about your organization. What key resources do we have? What key activities do we do, right? What things do we put together? Do we assemble? Do we make? What specific configurations do we do, maybe that someone else doesn't? It could be a technology, that could be literal products. And what specific knowledge and skills do we have that make us unique, right? And what are the applications that all of these things um, that we can do that can apply maybe to other segments as well? And one of the things you can do is bring back your business model canvas, and literally on your canvas. Now, if you think about it, you already have our key activities and our key resources listed here. So, what are those? And do we need new resources or activities to take advantage of new changes in customer needs, trends in the market? Do we need to maybe expand our partnerships to take advantage of AI, e commerce, logistics, all these things? So now we have a place, the canvas, to document these changes, to visualize it, to actually pull up in our meetings and our strategic planning sessions so that all of you on the executive team are on the same page, and using it as a dynamic tool not just as a checklist that we say, oh, yeah, we filled it out, we put it in a drawer, because it is a living document that helps us with our strategic choices. Once we do that, we can now refresh our business model. What we've just gone through is this journey. We just looked at our visions and aspirations and how our models help with our achieving these goals, where we compete now and documenting our business model, how we win now, looking at the customer's value and how they perceive us, and are we competing on the right factors? What are the conditions out there and trends happening we need to be aware of that affect our model? Then what capabilities must we really either hone in on, enhance, or actually go out and gather so that we can actually enact and launch these new potential offerings? You can now refresh your business models literally on your canvas, your value proposition canvas, and your strategy canvas, and start to use these as dynamic tools for you and your executive team. And so no longer it's this theoretical business model, but are real tools that you can start to refresh from. And one of the things you want to think about this is zooming in and zooming out. So here our business model canvas, our value prop canvas below it. We zoom into our customers' needs. We then zoom out to our organizational, how we create and capture value. And it's kind of this always back and forth. And it should be continuous. This is not a one time thing, which is historically how many companies use the business model canvas or other tools. If you want to be significantly better than your competitors, start to use this continually, right? At least once, twice a year to understand the changing needs of your customers and the landscape you're in. So, what's next? What would you do next? Well, some actions that I would recommend you take. The first, right now, is that everything we've talked about tonight, the business model, documentation, the value prop, pains, gains, and needs, your competing factors on your strategy canvas, these are all of your own assumptions. Most of you probably don't have significant evidence that those are true. They're your gut reactions. You probably have some data, but not 100%. You need to go out and interview customers and prospects and validate your assumptions to reduce your risk. The other thing you need to do right now is start using these tools in your planning sessions at least once a year so that you and your leadership team are all on the same page as to how you create value and where you're going and how you actually compete. In the near term, I would start also looking at how you can execute strategy better, implementing these changes by proven methods like OKRs, balanced scorecard, OGSM. And then in the future, once you start getting a good handle on how to use these tools, you can start to build innovation capabilities into your organization. Better leadership directions, better resources, more incentives for innovation, actually getting your people trained and using skills like how to use these tools, as well as start trying to explore new markets, blue oceans, new models for growth. That's much more difficult. So start with some of these things, looking at your market, how you exploit them, just doing things better, and then soon you'll be able to start to use them to even explore. So what did we do today? Well, we started with reviewing the need to refresh your business model so you don't become obsolete. We then stated how your business model supports your vision and aspirations. We discussed the need to change your mindset to both explore and exploit. And right now we're focusing on the exploit part just to make sure you're refreshing what you're currently doing. We examined your business model canvas and thinking in terms of business models to create value, not your products and services. We mapped how you solve the customer's jobs to be done with the value prop canvas, and that's really important. We visualized your value curve and how you compete now, how customers see you. We brainstormed on what changing conditions we might need to adapt to. We explored what capabilities must be in place to succeed. And we refreshed your business model using all of these new findings. And then we talked about some potential next steps to help you with future actions as well as executing now. So with that, we've got plenty of time for questions, and hopefully we've got some good ones ready to go. So Sheikh, I'll leave it to you to see what we have going on here.
Yep. Yeah. So there are some quite good questions. So let us take how much time we have. We have still some time.
Yeah, we should have a good at least 10, 15 minutes, I'm hoping. So
Yeah, we do have.
wonderful.
So let me catch up.
All right. Sheikh, what questions do we have in the chat?
Yeah. So let us do that. Ah, so let us see it. So basically, there is a question for Pestel and SWOT. Okay. So SWOT analysis is the internal is a part of internal analysis usually. So how does that? You said it works nice. So can you just elaborate little so
Sure.
to clarify the
Yeah, sure. So if you Google, SWOT analysis, images, what you'll see is the S&W, strengths and weaknesses, those are internal, like you said. The opportunities and threats, those are external. Those have nothing to do with you internally. And so most of the images you'll see will show that right on the outside of the boxes. But human nature, I've done, hundreds of those. Most people struggle with, well, okay, I'm just thinking about us internally. And if you give them a specific topic, AI is an example, right? AI is everywhere. Okay, well, how is AI affecting us? Is it a strength? You might say, no, we have no AI, technology. We don't have any training on it. So it's a weakness. Okay. Well, is it also an opportunity or a threat? Do we have competitors using it? Oh, yeah. Okay. Let's put a sticky note there. We've got competitors, doing that. So it's a threat to us, but it's also an opportunity. Right. So you're obviously going to have stickies in different places. Once you start to see themes emerge, you can then put those different places, and then you start to vet them out. And usually what happens in brainstorming is then you come up with 3, 4, 5 of your most important prioritized things you want to work on, right? It's like, okay, we know we got to do AI. But if you just do it with just SWOT, I've seen that most people struggle with enough specificity that you miss a lot of things. You miss the social issues, you miss the trends, you miss the market issues, right? So Pestle at least gives you a framework to make sure you hit everything: political, social, economic, environmental, all those things. Good question.
so I just note few points. I think there are some
Uh,
questions. Uh, Pestel or okay, that's how it is taken. Uh, okay, so I have few questions. You shared one image, mental image of cat versus lion. That is something which is
which one?
striking. Okay, cat versus lion in the seeing the mirror. So expecting our
Oh,
individual,
yes, yes.
yeah. So that is something. So how do we do that? That is actually true. That many organizations thinks that what they do is correct, their strategy is the best one, and how to make them be
Yeah,
realistic.
great.
So the model you are talking very nicely. Can you
Yeah,
repeat
great
it, please?
question. And what happens, at least what I've seen over many years, is that all of us in our companies, we compare ourselves to our competitors, and we drink our own Kool-Aid. That's the kind of the American slang, is like we think we're the greatest, right? So we're the best thing since sliced bread is another American saying, right? Like we're just awesome.
Yeah.
But because you're only looking at your stuff and you're comparing yourself to what you think the competitors do, the customer could care less about how you compare to your competitors, what you think you're doing better. The customer only cares about their problems and how they're getting solved. And if you can solve them better, great. If your competitor can solve them better, great. So we really need to understand the competitors' I'm sorry, the customer's perspective of us and what we're competing on. And usually what happens is we start comparing ourselves to the factors that our competition is putting out in the market. And so we're just trying to match them. But then usually some new entrant comes into our market and disrupts us and takes the whole market share. And both of us and the competitors going, well, how did that happen? Well, because none of you were looking at the customer's needs. You're only comparing yourself to each other, and the customer could care less.
That's true. That's true. Very nice. So one more point, Brian, is the strategy canvas, the as is and to be model. So one question is now as is perfect. Okay, so we understand we map for the competitive advantage points. We just map it. For the future to be, we map our competitors based on our understanding. Okay, so our competitor also might be doing something else. Okay, so it has to be more frequently updated. What is your
Yeah,
experience?
absolutely. And the strategy canvas to me is one of the most important tools, period, in business, because I look at it from two lenses. One is the current, what's our as is state from what we think it is, to then can we actually validate and get the customer's feedback and insights from us. Just doing that is significant because now all of you are pulling in the same direction, right? HR, finance, sales, operations. You all agree on what you compete on. You all agree how you look to your competitors. Right now, whether you innovate or not is beside the point. At least you all are making better decisions. Now you have a place to refresh and go from, right? To innovate from. Blue ocean strategy, which is where the strategy canvas comes from, is all about innovation, right? Finding new markets, creating new markets, new blue oceans. That journey is a little bit harder, right? To get to the blue line and separate those things. But we're talking about the first step. The first step is realizing it, getting customer feedback. Now you can start to say, okay, I need to go back to my customers after the first interview and say, all right, Shake, you told me these are your 10 biggest, most important things that you're worried about. Prioritize those for me. Rank them from 1 to 10. Okay, and now you're going to see new insights and say, okay, these are still important. We got to compete on them, but these are less important. These are more important. Now I can start to put my resources to change my value curve, real time, so the customer's literally experiencing better service or more features, right? If they're telling you that, now you're literally changing your value curve. It's not this theoretical curve, it's literal now. And it doesn't mean you're creating a new blue ocean, which is kind of what the blue ocean strategy canvases can help you do. But even in your current market,
Yeah.
you can now start to separate yourself. We call these different levers that you're pulling. You can reduce, because if you're trying to be the best at everything, well, your costs are going to be too high, right?
Ah,
So right, it's
cost
like,
will be too
okay,
high.
some things are table stakes if you're a poker player, right? We got to do certain things, but it doesn't mean we have to do them amazingly, right? What's the most important to the customer?
Fantastic answer. Yeah, yeah, yeah. So there is a couple of questions. Can you explain the nested SWOT? I'm not sure whether. Yeah.
I'm not sure what the nested means.
SWOT. Okay. So any other questions?
I'm not sure if they might have heard
So
something.
Kumunu, there are some questions. We can take this offline because there are so many points you put it. Okay.
But great.
So finally, yeah. So you have a couple of minutes, Brian. Very, very, very interesting. So you talk about the value proposition and then the customer profile. So that is fantastic way to actually describe the whole strategy of the organization. Yeah.
The
Mhm. So,
Go ahead. Was
mhm. So can you just yeah, explain some key takeaways on that?
and I think if I heard you right, Shake, you were talking about the value proposition canvas. Okay.
Exactly.
I would
Yes.
love to know in the
Mhm.
chat, if it's raised people's hands or, put in there, how many people have actually used the value proposition canvas? My hypothesis is a low percentage.
Very low.
And
Yeah.
this is
Very
one of
low.
the fallacies, the biggest thing I see from Fortune 500 companies to startups that I've worked with is you can't.
So we lost you, Brian. Praveen, can you check? Is it from my side?
There we go. Can you hear me?
Ah, okay. So we lost you. I thought it's from our side. Yeah,
Okay,
yeah, I
good.
can hear you.
So, what specifically on the value proposition canvas would you like me to talk a little bit more about?
No, just to explain a little because it's a very important topic and it's a new, so people are trying to understand
Yeah,
more
yeah,
about it.
and so the honestly, the books behind me, if you see there, the Strategizer tool set, the value proposition canvas is one of the books. The business model generation's a book. Testing
Mhm.
business ideas, I really recommend you get those. But the value prop canvas is really, really important because it's all about the customer, right? And their needs. And we don't want to make it too complex. If you have all these different charts and tabs, it's too complex, right? So one simple canvas, what are the customer's jobs, pains, gains are worried about? And if you can't draw a line with validation from the customer that those are solving their biggest issues, then you've literally created a product that the customer doesn't care about, right? And sometimes we'll see these, we call them
Mm.
orphan objects. Like, yeah, we've got this great set of all these jobs, pains, and gains. We have stuff over here that customers told us about, but the companies then created this stuff over here. And none of the features that we've created on these great new products we can draw lines to. So you've created stuff that you think's great, but the customer has told you, well, that's
Mhm.
not what I most care about. And so that's what we have to start refreshing. Well, what is it they care about? Which is why Hilti created the new offerings, right? Maybe think about COVID, right? It was all about delivery. It was contactless. That happened overnight. So simple ideas. What are the customers' changing needs? How do we continue to keep them in the forefront of our minds? It's not about product R&D only after we gather insights from the customer, and that helps us literally just document them. So bring R&D into the room, bring sales into the room. What do they hear? Bring engineering into the room. And now then you have to go out of the room and go talk to customers, which is the hard part because most of us are used to sitting around the boardroom and we come up with these ideas and then we go do them. That's now only the starting point. That used to be the end point of planning. It's now the starting point that now we have to go out and validate our assumptions.
Fantastic. Yeah. So we have some questions. Maybe you can offline answer
Sure.
them. So Kumunu, yeah. So Pestel are only inputs to opportunities and threats. Also can use Porter five forces, but nothing come from flows from strength
Yep,
and
all
weaknesses.
great,
Yeah.
great. Yeah,
So
five forces, all those things are wonderful. Absolutely. And whatever you like, yeah, use those. To me, the other tools are more
mhm.
important, or however you want to look at trends and things. It's just an example.
Okay. So great, Dr. Brian. Thank you very much.
Absolutely.
It has been very nice, and thank you for joining all the way from US, and it's so early morning for you. So thank you very much, and it's a wonderful lecture.
Well, I'm
Thank you
happy
very
to
much.
provide all
It's
the
very
information so
interesting.
you can give people the slides if you'd like to. And um, my
We will,
goal is I'm
yeah,
here if people have questions, free discovery call. I'm happy to help you talk through the tools, how to use them, and so that's what I do.
perfect.
Thank you, Shay.
Excellent, excellent. We'll just connect if somebody wants to meet. Yes. So
All
thank you,
right.
Dr.
You guys
Brian.
have a
Thank you
great
very
rest
much,
of
and
the
have a
day.
great
Good luck on the rest of the
thank you.
conference.
Thank you. Take care. Take care. Bye bye.